He's still working for the city council. Are you ready for Thanksgiving? Ready for some time off from school? You too. I have to work tomorrow and then where I work.
You want to step out. Terminal. I have some extra time off.
I need to say this one. I'm just a contractor. No, I won't, but I can't do the other one.
Because I think something else.
Yeah, that's not got fixed today.
The trees are like in shock. Okay, I got a couple of leaves. Yeah, chocolate leaves. You get like a smoothie.
This one is. So. That's not
I've done it for a few years, but I was elected by membership to this next chair. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's a pretty good board.
Yes.
Experience. That's a good
Good evening. This is the regular board meeting of the Mahomet Seymour Board of Education. I'd like to call the meeting to order at this time. It is 7:02 p.m. on Monday, November 19th. This time I'd like to remind everyone that's a guest to please sign in and everyone to please silence their cell phones. Good. And I'd like to remind visitors, in order to facilitate an effective meeting, we ask those who wish to make comments to the board to read the visitor guidelines found at the table outside the door, complete the attached public participation form, and get those to Jennifer here in the next couple of moments. Can we roll call, please?
Giles.
Here.
Raver.
Here.
Hendricks. Casson.
Here.
Larson. Here. Park. Here. McComb.
here. At this time, I'd like to introduce Connor and Carson Fisher. They're here to lead us tonight in the pledge. And if they come right up front here. Guys, thanks for being here.
Did you guys silence your cell phones?
All right, and everybody please stand and we'll follow these guys.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Board members have had an opportunity to look at the agenda prior to tonight. And anyone like to make any additions or subtractions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as it's presented?
So moved. Park.
Parks, and then
Second, Carson.
second Larson. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and our agenda for the evening is approved. Do we have any public participation forms? Okay. Board members have also had an opportunity to look at tonight's consent agenda. The consent agenda includes minutes of previous meetings, bills to be paid, the treasurer's report, personnel changes, there's some record management issues, and some surplus property that we're dealing with. Does anyone have a desire to take any of the items out of the consent agenda for individual discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as it's presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Lance. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Merle. Further discussion on the consent agenda? Your roll call vote, please.
Park. Yes. Casson.
Yes.
Raver.
Yes.
Giles.
Yes.
Hendricks. Larson. Yes. McComb.
Yes. At this time, Dr. Hall will present donations.
Thank you. We have two donations this evening to accept from Scott and Deb Norris to Lincoln Trail, a cash donation of $500, and several books about India donated to our district media center centers about total value of $205, and that donation came from the Indian American Education Association.
Okay, you've got those donations tonight, and we appreciate those. Is there a motion to accept the donations? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Can you do that in voice?
Not roll call.
Roll call, roll call.
Hendricks. Park.
Yes.
Casson.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Giles.
Yes.
Raver.
Yes.
McComb.
Yes, at this time we have communication from some different individuals. Is there anyone here from the PTO tonight? MSEA? They're here, but not for that item. Any updates from the foundation?
I was just going to tell you that we got all of our grants that were turned in, and we will be meeting, I believe it's December 3rd, to go over awarding all those grants. We had some from every building, which is great. And we're still working on that April 12th Bulldog Bash, 6 o'clock. Hey Jimmy will be the entertainer again. And we're working on just kind of getting the venue and everything set.
Thank you, Lori. We've got no visitors requesting to speak, so let's do board communications. We'll start with
None tonight.
That's good.
None other than I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving break, and the Lincoln Trails Veterans Day Assembly was another success. It is, I think, a really enjoyable event for the parents and the children. I've got my daughter who's already talking about next year's Veterans Assembly, so.
Good deal.
I had a chance to go to the high school Veterans Assembly this year, and I enjoyed that as well. I really enjoyed the speaker who had his son with him, and I had his son when he was in school, so it was nice to go up and talk to him afterwards. I've taken in a lot of events lately, and I just think there's a lot of really good things going on. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the supportive community that we have that embraced hardship last weekend, the weekend before last, when we lost a student. And when I talked with several of the staff, they were just pleased not only with the community support, administrative support, but the support from our surrounding communities. And I was really pleased to hear that other people come to us when we have students and things like that. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Just like to congratulate the high school girls cross country team. They had a fantastic year. I think they probably did better than they anticipated they would do. And also Matthias Powell had a fantastic year. A lot of hard work for all those kids. Also, the marching band had a fantastic year this year. I was a little bit unsure how it was going to turn out when I saw the first home game, but they really pulled it through. And the last home game, it was quite a bit different than the first home game, and they put a lot of dedication into that. And I had an opportunity to go to the 7th and 8th grade concert, band and chorus concert, and they got a lot coming up to the high school that they're going to be able to continue what they've been doing. And that's it.
A couple months ago, at a meeting, Mr. Cheek shared some information and regarding SAT scores. And if I don't get this right, correct me, but I think I got it right. Last year, our average score was an 1191 on the SAT, and there were only 9 schools in the state that averaged at 1200 or better. Is that accurate?
I think so.
Okay. That's new. That's the numbers I've got from you. So I mean, you know, what, 700 high schools in the state, give or take? You know, with only 9 of them doing 1200 or better, and us at 1191, I mean, we're just in some pretty elite company. And I mean, obviously there's a lot of reasons for that. We've got great kids, great parents, great teachers, great administrators. But the one thing that I see is with 2 girls in high school, sometimes they don't always get to ride together, and I'll have to take, 1 or 2 days a week. My younger one in early for help. And I get there at 7:15, 7:20, and it's amazing the number of kids and teachers that are there an hour before they have to be there. And they're, in there getting extra help, doing band, but there's just, I mean, an hour before school, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of energy there. And I mean, it's impressive to see the kids there that early and the teachers there that early, and that's why we're in that type of elite company. So just to thank you to everyone involved, because that's how we're getting those kind of results, by kids and teachers putting in the extra effort. And happy Thanksgiving.
A couple things. First of all, like a couple of the other board members, I got to go to some Veterans Day assemblies. Those are always fantastic. I got to go to Lincoln Trail on Friday, and they did a great job there. They got to go to the high school on Monday to keep Lori in line, and did a fantastic job at the high school. And I'm always proud of our district on how we handle that, and just some terrific ceremonies. But really, it's our kids, and they're attentive, and they're engaged, and they get it, and that's just fantastic. Also, as already been mentioned, we had we were touched again with tragedy during the last month. Seems like that happens far too often. Our staff responded fabulously. I heard nothing but compliments as far as how we handled it at Lincoln Trail. Primarily, that's where we dealt with it, but there was also in some of the other buildings that were touched by that. And I appreciate our people and how we responded, our community and how they responded. And I think we all hope that we don't have to do that again very soon. It's nice that we have resources that we can bring in, and we appreciate those folks for the comfort dogs and the counselors and the people that were able to tap in those times, and we're sure glad we have them, but it'd be nice not to use them for a while. So. I also have 2 special presentations to make tonight.
Can I say one more thing?
Nope. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to also appreciate all the people that worked so hard to get Lincoln Trail back on its feet after the flooding.
Yeah.
There are a lot
Yeah.
of people that, you can't even say everybody, but I know the custodial staff did a fantastic job being in on that. And Shane, thank you. You made it easier for
Yes,
us to
thank you, Shane.
get that done.
But that was almost overshadowed by some of the other stuff that went on. That was a big deal. Okay, so we have Mr. Stevens and a delegation from the band here, and if they'd like to stand. The Mahomet Seymour Marching Band is to be commended for their recent performance at the University of Illinois Marching Band Championships. This year, the Marching Bulldogs captured their 10th Governor's Grand Championship. Mahomet Seymour also took first in music, visual, and overall general effects categories. The Mahomet Seymour Marching Band is under the direction of Mr. Michael Stevens and Mr. Philip Meyer. Drum majors are Senior Sarah Shum, Senior Katie Wittrick, Juniors Annie Hendricks, and Junior William Larson. And so first of all, congratulations. Stevens, you have 20 minutes to introduce who you brought with you and share anything you'd like to.
I just want to say we have a fabulous group of kids who work really hard and take a lot of ownership in the program. And we have great student leadership, a really fine senior class this year that, you know, without them, we would not get as far as we get. We have a great group of parents. We have an army of parents that travel with us to make sure everything gets done, from uniforms and this year with the scrubs. That was interesting, and all of our props and pit equipment. So it takes a village to raise a kid, and it takes a village to put the marching band on. So on behalf of the marching band, our drum majors that are here tonight, Sarah and William, we appreciate it very much. Thank you so much.
Would the drum major like to say anything?
I'm just like really proud to be able to, I'm really proud to be able to lead our marching band, and I've seen so much growth like over the years with parents and just seniors stepping up and taking the role of leadership. I know it like comes up really fast, so I would just like to say thank you to everybody who helps us through our season.
Very good.
No comment. I can't follow
You don't
up.
have to. Want to say something, you could. So we are so proud of that group and what they've accomplished this year in particular, but really year after year after year. The Marching Bulldogs just amaze us with what they do. So, thank you. Also, later tonight will be the last report that we will get from someone we are sad to see leave. And Jeremy Rourke, would you stand? Why don't you come up front? Jeremy started with Mahomet Seymour Schools as a part-time bus driver. As near as we can tell, the year was 2011. Is that about right?
Yes.
Well, I did extensive research on this, and that's what I came up with. Now, Jeremy was only going to be here a little while.
Yeah.
Right? His goal, he was a vet med student at the time. His goal was to get to be a vet and to get his degree. And he did that. Yep. But he stayed here. And he became kind of a jack of all trades for us in transportation. He was the early version of what is now the dispatcher's job. He was kind of an assistant director for a while. And did all kinds of great stuff for us. In 2014, we suddenly found ourselves without a transportation director, and Jeremy became the interim director, and then a few months later became the permanent transportation director, and that's a position he has held until like the end of the month, right?
14.
A few days.
December
Next
14th.
December 14th.
December 14th.
Not till the next board meeting though, so we have to do this today. Some of you might not know this about Jeremy. His dad was transportation director in southeastern Illinois at Red Hill School District, and his grandfather was involved in school transportation and was a transportation director. So between the three of them, they have 100 years of experience in school transportation. I think most of that was all Jeremy, I'm not sure. Okay.
He feels like it's.
It feels like it.
That's old buses.
While Jeremy's been here and as either our assistant person in charge or in charge, we've done lots of changes to transportation. He's been instrumental in these. We want the full leasing of the fleet. He was involved in that. He was involved in a complete revamp of the human resources side of it and the procedures manual and all that with the drivers that we use over there. Very instrumental in routing and all of the routing software we have now and how we've implemented that and how we used it. And I know we've trimmed miles and miles and miles off our routes and off the use of our buses and still managed to get all the kids picked up in here on time. And then the other two big rerouting pieces, of course, is when we changed buildings. We added this building out here, and then we took Sangamon away and moved that out here. And of course, that's been a massive, massive rerouting. Jeremy has done just a great job for us. Transportation is one of those things that when you hear about it, it's because there's an issue. And so we tend to like to not hear much about transportation. And it's been real quiet while Jeremy's been in charge. And we appreciate that. He does a great job with parents when they have concerns, with kids when there's issues. He's always right on top of it. I remember something happened a few months ago, and Dr. Hall called me and I started asking questions. She goes, I don't know, but I'm talking to Jeremy right now, and he will have the answers, and he did. He's just done a fantastic job for us. Remember I told you he had that doctor's in veterinary medicine degree? He's finally decided he needs to go use that. And we've known since 2011 that's been coming. It's been no secret that that's been what he's felt a calling to do. But we sure have appreciated his 7 years here, and we will miss you, and thank you so much. And you didn't win at the U of I, so you have 19 minutes.
19 minutes.
No.
Well, I have greatly appreciated the support from everybody, from the admin team to Rick when you were up here and helped me along, and Dr. Hall here more recently especially. So, been a challenge to learning curve with things, and I'm glad things come out well. But just appreciate everybody's help because it hadn't all just been me. So a lot of people behind me and helping out. So.
Very good. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
And I would add his wife Heather is here tonight. It's good to have her. Probably never.
She wants to say anything?
Do you want to say anything about Jeremy?
Just how much he's loved the opportunity to be a part of the district, and I know that he's greatly going to miss it. So, as his wife, thank you for everything that you all have done. You've definitely been supportive of him, and we appreciate it.
I talked to Heather last week. She goes, yes, he has struggled with this decision. I'm glad he struggled. He needs to lose sleep over this. We don't want to lose him. It'll be great. It's going to be great for him, and we are so excited that you get to go do what you've been wanting to do. I think that's all we've got as far as board accommodations. Next up is financial report from Trent.
Good evening, all. It never fails that I have to follow up behind the student achievements and achievements from administrators and staff. So we go right into the financial update, and everyone's all jazzed about that.
We are.
State revenue update. We have received our fourth quarter payment for mandated categoricals. So we're all paid up for FY18. That last payment showed up in early October. We budgeted for 3 payments, and we've now received 1. So I think we're pretty safe in being able to receive the first and second quarter for FY19. We can cross our fingers for the third quarter payment FY19. Maybe get an extra payment out of the year, but let's just plan on 2 more at least and go from there. As far as the expense side, so far this year, we're on track, right on budget in the operating funds. So that's a quick update there. Not a lot of new types of expenses throughout the year so far. Just meeting all the new components of the MSEA contract and salaries and what have you. So cruising along there. Quick preview for December's board meeting. We're going to be looking at the results of the fuel bid that we have out right now. A joint bid with Paxton, Buckley, Loda. We've been doing that the last 2 or 3 years, and I feel like we've been getting really good prices. That contract is up January 1st, so we'll be looking to approve a new contract there. In that same spirit, I have been discussing with some other school districts about joining that program and making that larger. Of course, we feel like we get better pricing if we make it even bigger. So got some interest there, so more to come on that. Also, next month you're going to hear more from a presentation from Damien from BLDD about the high school fieldhouse project, kind of the scope that we're landing on for that. That project will be next summer, 2019. So more to come there. Just a quick update. Anybody have any questions about any of that?
Maybe not about that, but since our last board meeting, we had an election. Do you see the new administration causing any problems with school funding or changing anything that we've done this year?
I don't see why anybody would want to rock the boat at this point. Lindsay, you can jump in if you want to, but I mean, I would be surprised if there were any major changes. It seems like most folks are pretty happy with the formula. Would you agree, Lindsay?
Yes, I think the evidence-based funding model is here to stay for a while. So that's the good news. I guess the decisions going forward are always just how much is going to be appropriated to the model. And I think that the good news is that the evidence-based funding model is a bipartisan effort. We'll work across the aisle, and hopefully that kind of cooperation can continue in the spirit of helping kindergarten through 12th grade schools. I do think there'll be some things that are going to be looked at pretty closely by the new governor, one of which is the 3% cap. And I'm not saying how it's going to be looked at or what changes would be made, but I think that we can expect to see something modified or a little bit different with that. So.
Thank you very much.
Superintendent report, Dr. Hall.
Thank you. Well, certainly I want to take the opportunity to wish Jeremy the best. I know it was a very difficult decision. It's just been a joy to work with you, and just wish you and your family only good things in the future. Also want to say Happy Board Member Appreciation Day to our Board of Education. November 15th is annually set aside to honor the work that you all do, and I think it should be noted that the work that you do is on your own time and donated in service to the district that you're serving. So thank you for what you do and the time that you spend away from your families in working on behalf of the kids and families in Mahomet, Seymour. So what you do is just greatly appreciated. Since I've been here, what I've noticed is just a willingness to trust each other and cooperate. And I speak on behalf of the administration, and I say we appreciate the trust that you have in us to make decisions to run the school district efficiently, but also keeping kids at the forefront of our decisions. So thank you for that. And just a couple other things I wanted to mention that didn't get on my report. I just want to acknowledge the Community Action Program at the junior high school. This is a program that Jill Kyle started at least 20 years ago. And you know, Jill's a very humble person and is not going to call attention to herself, so some of us have to call attention to her valuable work. And all of our, you know, so many great things go on in our schools to help children and families, especially at the holiday time. But one event that the Community Action Program does every year is a Thanksgiving scavenger hunt. And the kids who are in the Community Action Program go out on an evening and go around, and I have to say very politely and respectfully, ask our neighbors for donations for food baskets for Thanksgiving. The IGA donates hams and turkeys, and then food baskets are taken to families in need. And I talked with Jill today, and we help somewhere around 8 or 9 families a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but they get a lot of food, and every little bit makes a difference. But you know, when you map that out over 20 years, we're close to 180 or so families that have been impacted by kids who've gone through that program and through what Jill has done. So just wanted to give a shout out to Jill and thank her for that work. It's really cool.
Any questions for Dr. Hall? Okay. We'll move into new business. And item 1 is approval of the new name for the Mahomet Seymour weight room. Dr. Hall.
Thank you. Well, I'm honored that I get to be present on the night when this vote takes place, and truly touched that my friend and colleague, Jim Risley, is going to be honored with naming the weight room after him. Just a little bit of background, Derek Halfar, who's a teacher at Mahomet Seymour Junior High, was instrumental in gaining the momentum to make this happen. Presented the board with petitions with the required number of signatures from registered voters and alumni in support of naming the weight room at Mahomet Seymour High School after Mr. Jim Risley. Mr. Halfar also read a very compelling statement at our October 15th board meeting that outlined all that Riz has done to start and support and sustain and enhance the weight room, and it's just touched so many athletes and staff members over the years. So the requirements of board policy 4150 have been met in regard to naming the facilities and naming a facility in our school. We will schedule a dedication ceremony for a later date, but again, it is my honor to recommend to the Board of Education that you approve the naming of the weight room at Mahomet Seymour High School after Mr. Jim Risley.
Recommendation of the superintendent is we approve the name for the weight room for Jim Risley. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Casson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lori Larson. Further discussion or comments?
Just so glad that you're here to be recognized for your efforts.
I appreciate Mrs. Hall inviting me.
The presentation last month by Mr. Halfar was just awesome, and you know, it very, very well deserved. So I'm excited for this vote.
We can do this on a voice vote. So if there's no further discussion, all in favor of the motion to approve the Mahomet Seymour High School weight room, to name the room after Jim Risley, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries.
Max, do you get my 18 minutes too?
You get 18. Go down while they're speaking. You get 18
17
minutes. No, you go ahead. You get as much time as you want.
No, you might be. But I would like to say to Derek Halfar, who's not here, I appreciate his nomination and the people that signed the petition, and most importantly, the fact that you voted just now to name the weight room after me. I hope my presence didn't scare any of you too. But I'd also like to mention that the fact that when I heard that this might be happening, the first people I thought about were my parents. And the fact that my name is up there means that their name will be up there with me, and that means a lot to me. They instilled a lot of the values I have that if I used anything, it came from them. So thank you very much. So in honoring me, you honor my parents. Thank you.
And back to Trent.
Well, Trent.
Let's talk about dental insurance.
See,
After every warm, uplifting moment, we get a little financial trend must fall.
You might start making a motion when we do the consent agenda to change it around.
Yeah.
After tonight.
Just might do that. All right, health and dental insurance. We'll start with the health insurance. So looking at the plan year 2019, we received a renewal quote from Health Alliance at 1.9% increase. That is it's the smallest increase we've had since 2012, so that's exciting in itself. We've seen everything between that and about 8% since then, so.
Do you know why that is?
Well, loss history comes into play there. The the claims that we've had throughout the previous year must have had a good year. So.
Which, by the way, is in addition to a very small increase, it also means that, just generally speaking, our employees are in good health and not suffering from really critical high claim illnesses. So we'll hope that continues and appreciate everybody's efforts in that area.
Absolutely. So I put some numbers up here just to show 2018 versus 2019, both in the monthly premium as well as how that works with the board paid portion. So during 2018, it's been $730 a month, and then it kind of carries on there showing the employee portion and the employee per pay. So in 2019, the low increase in premium along with the increase in board paid portion that's built within the new MSDA contract. Employees will actually have less out of pocket than they had in 2018. So add a little bit of information. Excited about that as well.
Very good.
I think we're voting on this all at once, so I'll go right into the dental insurance, which Dr. Chasm's been waiting for me to hit on anyways. All right, so the dental insurance, we moved away from a broker in health insurance in 2016. So since then, we've been continuing to, get that quote directly from Health Alliance as opposed to going, using a middleman. We got our quote from Delta Dental, really through our broker about a month ago for the 2019 dental plan with Delta, and they quoted a 6.1% increase in our premiums. But I worked with Bush UHR and our assigned rep over there to do the same thing with the Delta insurance. We requested a direct quote from Delta Dental and to surpass that middleman and kind of remove that broker commission component in the interest of, one, saving money, but also we can continue the same level of service without them, frankly. So we did that. We got the Delta direct renewal results, and that results in a 1.8% decrease in premiums for 2019. So again, the plan and the service will all be the same still. Delta still deals the claims, and they were previously as well. So we're going to go that route just the same as we have under the health insurance plan.
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the health and dental insurance renewal as it's been presented. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion or questions for Trent?
Just a comment that Trenton too can be warm and fuzzy.
That's the standing ovation.
You're not getting anything.
If you can keep coming up here and telling us that we're saving money, then that is awesome.
I hope I'm telling you that. Thank you.
All right, hearing no further questions for Trent, roll call vote, please.
Rayford,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Park, yes, Kendricks, Castle,
Yes.
Giles.
Yes.
and Paul.
Yes, item number 3, new courses at Mahomet Seymour High School. Dr. Romo.
Hi.
Hi.
Try to follow by health insurance.
This is a toughie.
Yeah.
All right, so we have, I've been at the high school a lot this year. There's been a lot of discussions for multiple years about a couple different needs at the high school. And so we have 2 courses that we'll be presenting tonight. We're presenting physics and then a discrete math course. So I've asked Mr. Potter to come along this evening and he will start and talk to you a little bit about the new physics class.
Dr. Hall, President McComb, thanks for having me in. Rest of the board as well, appreciate it. So real quickly, physics at the high school, this is my 19th year teaching. The physics classes actually are a little bit newer than that because they've changed over the years. We have an AP physics class, which is the College Board AP Physics C, which is a calculus-based class. Both mechanics and E&M, 1 semester mechanics, 1 semester E&M. It's college level, calculus based, so if you were to go to physics, at U of I, it'd be physics 211 and 212. Parkland, it's 141 and 142. And just about every school, 90+% of schools give credit for, AP. So a lot of our students are getting college credit for that class. Of course, they have to do well enough on the AP test in May. To get into that class, because it's calculus based, they have to be concurrently or finished calculus, which most of our students don't by the time they're senior. But as a senior, they're oftentimes, in calculus. So usually about 10 to 25 students take that each year. So it's a smaller group, and that's, there's reasons for that. One of it is the high math requirements. It's a difficult class. It's pretty intense, just in general. And so that's about what it should be probably. A lot of them are, future engineers that are going to go to like a U of I, or whatever, high quality engineering school. We also have fairly recently implemented a dual credit physics class, which is an algebra-based class. It's still college level, but at U of I, for example, it's physics 101 and 102. At Parkland, it's physics 121 and 122. In fact, that's what it is, dual credit through is Parkland. Really good partnership there, works out really well. The difference being, like I said, algebra-based, there's more students in this class. For that reason, it's kind of open to, most of them, there actually are a lot of calculus students in this one, but there's also pre-calc and stats trig students, and even just a few that aren't in a math class, but they have finished the prerequisites they need to get in there. So there's more people. It's usually about 2 sections that do this, and the big difference there is if they finish the class successfully, they get credit no matter what. They don't have to take an AP test, so it's a nice opportunity for them. But right now, they do have to get into the class and meet a Parkland, because it's a Parkland dual credit class, they have to meet that criteria. All said and done, to make a long story short here, it's right now a fairly small percentage of our seniors or graduating seniors take physics, which is not the norm necessarily. To be honest, I've kind of, as a physics major, wanted a class, a more general physics class, just like we have a bio one, we have a chem one. Most schools have a physics one, if you will, for juniors or sophomores or seniors. And so that's kind of the proposal for this class, in that we'd like there to be, of course we always have our, we have our AP Bio and AP Chem as well, so we're not going to touch any of that, but we want this Physics 1 class that, a typical junior, if you will, would take. They will still have a math prerequisite, they'll have to complete geometry, so there will still be some rigor there. As I say, most likely a junior level class, but it will be open to sophomores and seniors, especially that first year, because obviously current juniors didn't have a chance to take it. And the idea being that it'd be accessible for 70 to 80%, possibly more of our students. We don't think everyone's going to jump right in first year, so we're hoping, guessing. Honestly, there's a lot of unknowns there, depending on how much I go around and sell it to our advisors and whatnot. But we're hoping we get 2 or 3 sections of it the first year. But then, honestly, schools our size, there's oftentimes 4 or 5 sections of regular physics, physics 1, typical junior level physics, where most colleges suggest, no matter what your major is, that you come in with bio, chem, and physics as your science sequence. Not that there's anything wrong with our other classes, we just want to give that option for our students. Did you say you had
I did.
Oh, no. Okay, so that's. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, or questions? Yeah.
So would this be something that if someone took Physics 1, they could then take the AP classes later?
Sure, yeah, so our current model, because we have so many offerings, and because currently students are successful in the AP and the dual credit class, they don't have to take this. Students do have to take Bio 1 to get to AP Bio. They do have to take Chem 1 to get to AP Chem. We didn't want to put that as a requirement. So my understanding, at least right now, is that's not going to be a requirement. And if they know they're going to take AP Physics as a senior, they actually probably won't, so they can fit in. Some of our kids take 2 science classes as sophomores and as juniors and as seniors. They like to double up. So it won't be necessary. What we are hoping is maybe some kids that were, I don't want to say on the fringe, just maybe they weren't sure if they could handle a dual credit physics or AP Physics. If they take this as a sophomore or junior and gain some confidence, then they could go on to maybe be successful in a dual credit physics or the AP Physics. So that's what we are hoping, that maybe this year there's a group of 15 seniors who just decided, I don't know if I can handle it, because it's a college level class, but if they take this, they'll gain that confidence and kind of see, kind of get a foundation for it. So it won't be a prerequisite for those classes, but hopefully we'll open, some more students to take those upper level physics as well.
So maybe not year 1, but in the out years, we could see more students in the other 2 physics classes as a result of this.
And then, I mean, that would be wonderful. Our real primary goal is this bottom bullet. We want there to be a class for the majority of our students to take in physics. You know, like I said, right now, this current year, less than 25% of our graduating seniors are going to have officially taken physics.
Could take a hit in the other two classes the first year. Some of them might
In some
trigger
of the
off this.
classes, but I think one thing that is so unique to the science department is the fact that there is no prescribed sequence. Kids are able to explore the sciences in their own sequence. And so, you know, I think he brings up a good point that it's a great opportunity for kids to get their feet wet with physics, to see if they like it. I think sometimes they hear physics and they're a little scared by it. And we have that entry-level course for our other classes. Some kids go straight from bio into AP bio. Others go bio, chem, back into AP bio. There is no normal science sequence for the high school, I would say.
But to answer your question, I would be very surprised. Students oftentimes take the dual credit in AP physics. Number one, for the GPA boost. They take it because they want the college credit. And so you're right, maybe just a few would say, oh, let me just get exposed to it. But I would be very surprised if we lost much momentum in those.
I think long term.
So is there not a non-AP physics course in high school now?
Not right now, no. So I mean, there's a dual credit, but no, there's no non-college level physics. We do have, in the ag department, there's a physical science class, if you will, but which is, you know, good application for agriculture, but it's not a traditional physics class at all. And it's a rarity. I mean, if you look, just about every school around has a general physics class. In fact, just the opposite. Maybe an AP Physics C is actually a rarity in the area, and we have that, which is awesome. But the strange thing about our physics, at the high school, is the fact that we don't have that regular physics.
Well, I know that they used to have it. I went to high school and they had physics. What happened to that class?
That was before me. I'm not sure. I think it was, when I came, it was only AP Physics. That's all they had. I think when the AP, whatever the big push toward AP happened, and then I'm not sure. I think the 90s, if I remember right here, kind of, they made calculus AP, they made physics AP, and they wanted an AP class, so they just took the regular physics and converted it to an AP physics. But I can't speak for sure on that.
Good idea. I like diversifying the instruction, maybe to meet more kids' needs. I like that.
Is it the same instructor? Are you teaching it, or?
So depending on how the sections work out, I'm the one. I mean, we have most of our science teachers could teach it, and if it grows enough, we'll need that. But depending on how the numbers work out, most likely I'll be teaching it the first year. That's my plan. That's my hope. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be an enjoyable class. Like I said, a different set of students, which is what we need. So.
Or depends how many sections we end up adding.
Yes, exactly. So if there's more than 2 or 3 sections, Mr. Davis taught physics in Rantoul. Mr. Coker has done it before. Mr. Coker's replacement, we might have to keep that in mind for who the next hire is. But officially, all the science teachers would have a certification to teach physics. But I think, it's up to Mr. Cheek, of course, but I don't want to speak out of turn. But I think I'll kind of be the go-to, at least until my schedule's filled up.
Besides, go ahead, sorry, Merle.
Did we once have an honors physics course as well?
Yes, and yes, we did have that, and that kind of, when we went to these 2 different levels, there didn't seem to be the need for that anymore. Now we have an algebra base and a calculus base, and it was difficult enough. The kids, honestly, what happened was kids were like, well, if I'm going to go take that leap to take the honor, why not just take the AP or dual credit? And so it and that's why this one is going to be like, and there was a pretty tough math prerequisite to get into that class, and it was pretty mathematically rigorous, where this one won't have that. Not that it's, I don't want to make it sound like it's going to be a simple or easy class. It's still, a high school level science class, but it's going to be something that, like I said, should be accessible for 3/4+ of our population, where the honors physics, to be honest, wasn't that much. Maybe it was one section beyond our AP, that was really accessible for our students. And we kind of learned from that mistake, you know, that we needed to make it more, and that's why the plan is with this.
Okay.
So what do students do now if they've done trig, they're in calculus, and they've done chemistry, but they don't want to go into AP physics? What do they do with their time?
So depending on if they've already done AP Chem and they've done AP Bio, we do have anatomy and physiology. We have a Chem 2 class, which is dual credit through Parkland. We do have a medical careers class. So there's other options there. There's even, you know, there's earth science and there's food chem as well. So there's definitely options, but it seems to be missing, you know, I mean, like I said, you look at almost any guide for colleges and they say, they don't require it, but they say 3 years of science with a strong suggestion of biochem and physics. And obviously more than a quarter of our kids are going to college, so they're not truly getting what colleges are suggesting they get. That's kind of been the big impetus of this movement.
So you said we have the staff already that could accommodate that. I guess we have to approve a course first, but like you got curriculum in mind and we can do that, okay?
Yeah, we're kind of in a possible transition for the high school as a whole, so I've looked over a bunch of different possibilities. I mean, a lot of them would be great. Looked over, you know, we certainly want to have something. It's kind of nice to start a new class after NGSS came about, because Next Generation Science Standards, because now we have that as our guiding, you know, core principle. So, you know, we're definitely going to use resources that have been developed just in the last couple of years to truly be kind of NGSS aligned. We're waiting on textbook decisions, like I said, because we might have some change. Maybe I shouldn't be saying, well, I don't know. We might be changing bio and chem. We're just looking at options there. If we can kind of have a biochem physics sequence, so I think that decision will be made in January, February, or at least more.
Yeah, so the science team's been looking over science materials. We have not adopted new materials since the Next Generation Science Standards came out. So one of the things we're going through right now is ensuring that we assign standards to each course or grade level. That, you know, especially like right now in high school where they don't have to go through a certain sequence, you know, are those most essential standards, are we covering them in some way in bio? And so from there, they've looked at, I want to say about 12 different sets of materials. And at our meeting next week, should come with a recommendation for top 3. We'll have some sales reps come in January and meet and talk. And so hopefully sometime later this winter, early spring, we'll be bringing some materials to you for approval.
Because students would get a promo if we approve it in the spring, and then they would start enrolling for the fall, because you're talking about fall 2019, right? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I know. I've already, you know, talked to the counselors, and you know, we'll have to. There won't be everything. It won't be perfect, but I mean, there'll be enough that they'll get an idea. And like I said, I'll probably be doing some traveling around to the sophomore advisories, just letting them know, you know, that this option is now available.
I love that we have that when you said that. I'm glad that we have that built into our schedule to give our students the options that are available to them. Thank you.
Okay, so the second class.
Thanks, Mr. Potter.
That the high school is looking at is a discrete math class. And this would be a 4th year, so targeting seniors. It would be a non-honors math class. Students would have to complete Algebra 2. And really the goal for this is to offer kids, we have some college-bound students who are not taking math their 4th year because they're not interested in taking an honors level course. And so right now, we have 2 honors level courses in addition to AP Calculus, and we have the pre-calculus and trigs and stats. And for some of our kids, that's just not what they want to do, but they still plan to go to college. And our goal is to keep them out of remedial courses. We want to keep them fresh in math so that they can enter college in credit-bearing courses. The math department has looked around at a lot of different schools, made lots of contacts to try to figure out what that content would be, and they came up with a discrete math course. This is more of like a real-life application course. Some of the topics that were mentioned, we're looking at like stat results from an election, and how that plays out in real life, and just some real life application types of things. A lot of times this can be confused with the college level course, and so there, Elizabeth Schaefer at the high school has put a lot of time and effort to make sure that working on this course and setting up course objectives and goals, that this is a high school level course. She's reviewed a lot of materials to make sure that we have a high school level textbook for the course. But just, again, looking at a way to reach our kids that are college bound, that would be looking for a 4th year of math, but would not be interested in taking an honors level course.
Questions?
So we have staff that are able to look into this, and
I think just about anybody in the math department would be able to teach. I know Elizabeth's done most of the work for it.
Yeah, Ms. Shepard is the one who's, she's been working with me for AP Calc as I move into pretty much primarily physics. She's doing a great job, really bright, energetic, new teacher who, she's one that comes in at 7:15 every morning to work with kids, and she'll be kind of heading this up. Probably the only one who needs to teach it, but yeah, I mean, this is a class that, especially once she's kind of developed the idea, anyone in the math department could teach it for sure.
same thing, we'd have new material, implement it,
Yes.
guidance, and push it in fall 2019.
So in looking through, I need to order the samples. She's looked at the online version of it, and bring that to you to be ready to review. But she's looking at discrete mathematics through application by Kristen as the textbook to be used. It's used by a lot of the schools up in the suburbs.
Okay. Any other questions for Dr. Romo or Mr. Fox?
I will offer more classes. We still only have 2 guidance counselors.
This is gonna start next year.
Yes, this one would start in the fall as well.
Are there other courses that you anticipate adding for next year?
I do not believe so. We've looked at some others, but this is where we land. Right?
Unless you don't want to hire more staff.
No, I just
was like,
didn't know if we were covered with social studies and, government law stuff.
Well, so there's a, Nicole's put together a cycle of reviewing all the curricular areas. So social studies and other areas will make their way around in the next couple of years. So this has been math and science here.
It seems like this is filling 2 gaps that are really needed, so I think this is great.
And it's been great. They came from the department, really recognizing the needs in those areas, so.
thank you.
Sounds good. Superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the new courses at Mahomet Seymour High School as presented. Is there a motion to do that? Thank you, Lance. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Was that Jenny?
That was Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny. Further discussion?
We always have the further discussion before we move on.
Well, not always, but we're pretty good at it. You're right. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. You're approved.
All right.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Yes,
work
that's
on that. That's
A lot
exciting.
of good work into that.
So before I jump into the report card, I just want to get on your calendars or make you aware of 2 curriculum events that will be coming up. January 24th, here at MPE, we will be hosting a K-5 curriculum night for parents. And then on February 13th at the high school for grades 6 through 12.
What time are
Those are going to run from 6 to 7:30. I am looking at working with a group at the high school to provide childcare for the K-5 event, so hopefully we'll be able to pull that off. But the goal of these evenings is there'll be an overview for parents of the evening, and then parents will have 3 sessions that they'll be able to choose from. So there'll be multiple sessions, but from the multiple sessions, they'll be able to choose 3 that they wish to attend. We've had several teachers that have volunteered to present on various curriculum-related happenings within our schools. So I feel like there's been a lot of great things that have been going on in classrooms. We've had a lot of initiatives. We've had the one-to-one guided reading K-5, and this is just an opportunity for teachers to share that information with parents. So we're looking forward to that. So moving ahead, we have our school report card came out at, yes. Oh, sorry, I thought that was a stop.
No.
So, we have our school report card is out. So just to start, just an overview of enrollment. 2014, we were 2,988. In 2018, we're 3,113 students. Within our subgroups, one of our biggest subgroups that we have here are low-income students. We began to see a decrease over the last 5 years, believe it or not, in the trend of low-income students from 22% in 2014 to 19% in 2018. However, I'm not sure if this is truly a decrease in low-income students or a decrease in families reporting.
Are people leaving the state? Lower income people leaving the state?
I honestly believe there are fewer families reporting.
Well, and so
I would agree with just my
it's
job, I
only
would
a
agree.
slightly lower percentage, it's a slightly lower percentage of a much higher number.
Yes,
So real numbers.
real numbers are greater, absolutely. Absolutely. In addition, there's been no change in the percentage of students with IEPs, which remains at 10%, and our homeless population remains at 2%. We have seen a slight increase in diversity with a 1% increase in students reporting 2 or more races and a 1% increase in Hispanic students. It still leaves our overall population of white students at 88%. So the actual report card, if you go to illinoisreportcard.com and you're interested in getting more, you would just go and type in Mahomet and bring up the school. And this is our report card. And so you can see from here that, as Dr. Hall had mentioned before, we're in the commendable schools. Sorry, I could try to make it a little bit larger there. So this is under our new designation under ESSA. And so what I want to point out where I thought we'd spend most of our time tonight is under academic progress. So, you know, when you have time, if you have questions about any of the other tabs, or you'd like me to go through those with you, I'd be happy to do so. But tonight I thought we'd start here with academic progress. As we go through these, many of these areas were covered in October by the principals as part of their building reports. Okay, so here we have, you can see when we look at our student data on the PARCC assessment, we continue to remain, overall, our scores are very high compared to the state average. And we're doing very well. It continues from 2017 to 2018. You can see the same thing in the area of math. If you click over on grade and demographics, it gives us the option to, again, you can select another year, but at this point you can select any grade that you're interested in looking at. So you could pick a grade, and then the 2 areas that we tend to have some discrepancy in would be our low income and students with disabilities. So you're able to add those demographics. Oops. And so here you can see, here's our summary. So here's all students in the district. Here's how 7th grade performed. And now you're going to see how our low-income students across the district performed and how our low-income students in 7th grade performed. And here we have our students with disabilities, how they performed overall, and then our students with disabilities in 7th grade. So you can see if we go back, there's a big difference between how all students are performing and then how you, when you compare that to our low-income students, and then you compare that to students with disabilities. Go back over here, and here, here's our SAT performance then. We had a slight increase well, this is exciting here. I want to show you our overall average score from the district. So this is 2018. But if you pull up 2017, you can see, for example, ELA in 2017 was at 564.5 and math was at 581.4. And it's a huge increase in both areas moving to 2018. So that's definitely a highlight that I want to be able to point out to you. But again, even with the SAT, we're able to go back and look at our low income and our students with disabilities. And we'll see that we continue to have discrepancy. So here's our overall performance in ELA, and then here's how our low income students performed and our students with disabilities. And unfortunately, if we go over to math, we're going to see that, again, there's not much of a difference. We have a large portion of students performing really, really well. But as we break that down, we still have some work to do with our low-income students with disabilities. If you click on the achievement gap, as we're talking about that discrepancy, here you're able to really see what that discrepancy is compared to the state. So if we come over here, this is 2018, and this is the low income for the state and the low income gap in our district. You can see the same thing with math, okay, low income. And then we can scroll down. And here's our students with disabilities. So in the state, the gap is 27%, and in our district, it's 34% for students with disabilities for this current year in the area of math. Again, in ELA, you can see we've had quite a large gap in performance. So we have a lot to celebrate, but we do have a few areas that we need to work on. If we look at 8th graders passing Algebra 1, you can see we have a great number. We have about 24% of our kids taking Algebra 1 in 8th grade. It's just below the state average at 30.6%.
Bless you.
Bless you. There's a lot that goes into that of the kids that take it and maybe pass it in 8th grade. We don't know how many of those students in other districts repeat Algebra 1 again in 9th grade. It's just another indicator, another thing that we're able to look at. I'd like to point out an area of strength for us is the early college coursework within our district. We've had, even when you go through past years, we have a large percentage of our students that are taking advanced placement courses or dual credit courses. If you look at the information from previous years, we will have stronger dual credit numbers in previous years. And I know that Mr. Cheek has been working with Parkland, has changed some of their requirements for our dual credit offerings, since we've had some courses that we've been able to offer in the past that we're not currently able to offer. He is working to try to secure some more dual credit classes for our students. But our AP enrollment remains really, really strong. And I think some of that comes back to the science department and being able to take AP Bio there's no restrictions on that. And then the history department has opened up a lot of their courses as well. And then another area of growth for us would just be the remediation. So these are just kids who are going to community college, who are not getting credit, who are not being placed in credit-bearing courses for college. So they're having to take a remedial math, a remedial English, or writing, or speech course. So we're just below the state average here in the overall and in math, but we have a little bit more work to do in reading and communication. So are there any questions?
This is a comment, just Mr. Cheek, at the academic awards night, didn't we have like 26 students who scored in the top 1% of the SAT? Does that sound right, or am I?
What was that high, but we had several.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was 25 or 26.
Yeah, I
tried to count.
I was counting them too, but it was hard to say out, so.
But a lot, yeah.
There were a lot, so So I was about that.
And if you, I mean, we're almost 100
That was
points
not
in
me.
math above the state average on the SAT. I mean, it's, we have some definite things to be proud of.
Well, it was amazing that night.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that.
Yeah, I think we were. They just kept getting called top 1%. Everybody except Mike's got a medical.
Well, I like that, and I like that the diversifying the instruction.
That was
We started
easy.
that with the one math class we already have going this year, so it's a way to differentiate our instruction to meet all the kids' needs that we have.
And hopefully with the new math class, we'll have more kids going into a credit-bearing course, high school, so.
What was the tab at the bottom on the left? It said like retired tests or?
Yes,
What is
so
that?
ISAT.
Okay.
So these are all with ACT, everything we no longer give.
But it shows the data or just what they are? I was just curious. I don't want to, I mean, I don't know.
No, it should all still be there.
Wow, okay.
Yep. It's just hard, it's a totally different test. The ISAT is measuring different learning goals and learning targets than what PARC is. So, which brings us, we have a new test coming out this year, the Illinois Assessment of Readiness. And that we are told that we will be able to compare scores. We'll see. We'll see, because the plan is over the next 5 years to move that to an adaptive test. So students get questions correct, questions get more difficult, students get questions incorrect.
Just like math?
Just like math,
Right,
correct. But the current PARC test is not set up that way. So there will have to be a lot of work that will go into making that happen.
How many years have we done math? That's not even a fair question. Is that what I was just curious?
Yeah, forever.
For here?
Forever. Do you know, it's been a very long time.
9 years, does that sound right?
It sounds pretty close. So we have a lot of data.
Are there pedagogies that have resulted in our math success that we can learn from or borrow from for the other categories in increasing scores? Can we capture what we did well to make the math where it is today and repeat it?
Yes, you would think. I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. We're very, very successful. For example, you saw our SAT scores, but our PARC scores in math at the elementary and junior high level are not as strong. So we definitely have some work to do in those areas.
So what is happening in that gap of elementary to junior high to high school that's increasing kids' abilities to do so well on their math scores?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of kids at the top end that are really scoring really, really well. But then, you can see we have some other kids at the lower end.
Don't you think that the double block has maybe some support for gaining their skills?
The junior high.
With the junior high?
So it'll be several years before I have that because those kids are freshmen.
Right.
So we'll have to see when they get into their junior year and they take it. But currently,
We do have, our upper kids are really not at the park, and we actually just met today and had some conversations about the middle group. And some of our kids are not performing really well, and so we're continuing to brainstorm and figure out ways to support.
So are the number of kids in the upper sort of level, are they increasing, or is it just the same amount of pool, seems from year to year?
I don't know. We've had an increase over the last 10 years, but I don't know that it's increasing a significant amount over the last 4 to 5 necessarily.
I think these are constant conversations that I know that Nicole in particular has with our math teachers, our math department head at the high school, with Shannon. As Shannon mentioned this afternoon, Nicole and I and Shannon met with Dan Ryan and really took a deeper dive into the data and found ourselves asking a lot of really valuable questions that I'm not sure we have the answers to, but certainly ones that we'll continue to discuss. So we want to continue to do that and figure out where, you know, just where things are happening, and if there's a breakdown, identify that. I'm not sure what the answer is. I mean, there's just amazing data to be proud of, but we do need to be cognizant that we have some groups that are underperforming, and they are our more at-risk learners. So.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, construction change order lucky number 13, Rick. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. First, congratulations on continuing to move the needle and give opportunities at high school. That's very good. Jim, well done, very well deserved. I'm really proud of you. All right, good luck to you. And keep up the good work saving money. I want to be here tonight to present what we hope will be the final change order. And when you get finished, I will give you an update on your actions tonight and where the financial picture will be. I know Trent went over the overall numbers of the project, all those things last month. I won't get back into those, but met today with Shane, Michael Hernandez on site. Trent and I talked, Jared and I talked, multiple staff members as we walked through the building to kind of, again, see where we were. And so what was a number of 874 individual items on the punch list for Bruin and Russo is now 96% complete according to their numbers. Now that changed a little bit today because we added a few more things back on it. But again, we're getting where we need to be, okay? So when you get finished tonight, one of the actions on the bills was a pay app. There will be $72,000 worth of retention still on the project to get through the rest of that punch list out the backside till we get through the 10-month walkthrough and the warranty presentation of the manuals and all those things to take care of the 1-year on-site warranty, all right, construction warranty. So that's where we'll be. The two, one of the things you did last week, you want to throw this up? One of the things you did last month was to approve the concrete work they started today. Shane pointed that out. And he's got a couple of the images we threw, I think, here early in the meeting, so he's going to throw those up as where they are. So you can see that that has started. One from where the sidewalk will end up being, the one on the left, and then from the exit, that whole area will be concreted to get to where that sidewalk, 8-foot sidewalk will be. So that was the action that you took last month.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, just like building a house, you're trying to fix what wasn't foreseen, and that was one of the things that on the very first day when the fire alarm went off, that was pointed out very quickly by our students and staff. Okay. So nice job taking care of that last month. The two change orders are relevant to, number one, the concrete. And these have been on the radar screen for quite a while, as you know. So the communication we had with the concrete, the additional concrete cut in the asphalt near the basketball goals, the arch that originally was laid out, we made it look like it was piecemeal together. So in the effort of time, I went ahead and gave a verbal approval for a $16,000 cut, which gave us a bigger concrete cut and took out the failing concrete at that time. The bill we got soon after that was for $25,000, which we didn't agree with. And so 3 months later, they agreed to the $16,000 that you're approving tonight. So that's where we are. So we are where you thought we needed to be. The second one then is the failed paint issue that we had on the frames that occurred about 3 or 4 weeks prior to, which was the bare paint fail for the direct to metal solution. We had to very quickly give approval to get that work done, to be able to open the doors and get where we needed to be. Your board bar didn't reflect. I needed to communicate a little bit better with that. Your board bar that went out to the public didn't really state exactly what went on. The original work for those 85 to 88 door frames with side lights and all, where it had to be scraped off, sanded off, redone, and repainted, was $33,000 by Bruno Russo. And through a lot of angst and a lot of phone calls and each one of the parties, both Supply Works, which is Renovation Plus, that was part of our buying cooperative, Bear and Bruno Russo absorbed a third of that each. And so what you're asking, so the bill that Bruno Russo passed on through the change orders for $22,000. And today we double checked into the system, we have a $22,000 credit from Supply Works back to the district in our account for Supply Works, where we buy a ton of supplies and materials through janitorial, the paper, a lot of things that we have access to. And $11,000 of that was a check from Bear back to Supply Works. The other was the credit from Supply Works. So we were held flush in that paint fail out the backside. Okay, so that's the change orders I recommend tonight. The $72,000 in retention after tonight's meeting, if you compare that to where we were on phase one, we were well over $200,000 in retention for quite a while because of the failed, what we perceived to be an issue with the Carlisle roofing at that time. And so compared to that, we're much better off of where we are today. And so we feel pretty good about where we are right now. Very proud of the building, proud of it. It took a lot of people to get where we are today. And we look forward to that 10-month walkthrough and to get everything buttoned up and the warranties. And that's when it gets turned over to Shane to take care of those things. So thank you. To entertain any questions.
Good work on the paint.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How many hours?
It worked out.
How many hours were invested in that?
It worked out. It worked out. It worked out. Okay.
They were scraping it off the day before the open house.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Yeah, it was drying as people were walking in, but we didn't tell everybody, so, yeah, it worked out, Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ray.
Thanks, Rick.
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve change order, construction change order number 13 as presented. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we have a roll call vote, Jennifer.
Larson,
Yes.
Hendricks, Giles.
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Raver,
Yes.
Casson,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. Dr. Rourke. And remember, you're going right before Trent, so we need.
Don't be too excited because you know.
We need hazardous conditions to be the sexiest and flashiest it's ever been.
Poor Trent.
As you guys have seen in your board packet, annually we have to review the hazardous conditions transportation for the district. There were a few changes for this year, solely the fact that Sangamon's doesn't exist, so they've been subtracted from the list, and I made sure that all the Sangamon and Middletown early education ones were all completely removed. So what stands is anything with the high school, junior high, and then this building now, the extension K through 2 for the existing areas. So if you guys have any questions, otherwise they should be just as a list I believe it's going soon. So.
This is a list that goes to the state, correct?
It's a list that goes to the state so we can be approved to transport to students that live within a mile and a half of the schools.
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the review of hazardous conditions as presented. That will continue to allow us to transport the students that live in those areas to our schools. Is there a motion to do that? Is that a desire? Motion.
I will, yes.
Was there a second?
Second.
Second by Lance. Further discussion? This calls for roll call vote, please.
Park. Yes. Casson.
Yes.
Raver,
Yes.
Giles.
Yes.
Hendricks, Larson.
Yes.
McComb.
Yes, Jeremy, thank you. I know that's really not very exciting, but we appreciate you doing that, yeah. Trying to appreciate the fact that wasn't very exciting though. Yeah, you're up now.
Not as exciting as this though.
Are we ready now?
Yeah, we're ready.
Taxes.
So as the board bar states in the meeting packet, there we go. We're about to see the largest increase in our tax base, our EAV, since 2007. So we're hearing from the county that the 2018 EAV, again, our tax base, is expected to increase 7.43% for the 2018 tax levy. Usually don't present the tax levy itself until December, but since that increase in tax base, excuse me, will result in a tax levy extension, the tax levy revenue, larger than 5%, there are 3 requirements we are required to meet as per school code. I'm just going to read these real quick by law here. So the board must adopt an estimated tax levy not less than 20 days prior to the date it adopts its final levy. So we're doing that tonight, the estimated levy. The final levy will be December 17th. Next, we'll publicize the truth in taxation notice not less than 7 days or more than 14 days prior to excuse me, the public hearing. That'll be December 7th. And then, excuse me, lastly, we will hold a truth in taxation hearing prior to the December meeting. We always do that every year, but that is the 3rd requirement. But we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts here on why that is increasing. I mentioned the EAV. This is historical EAV back to 91. But if we kind of focus on the last 10, 11 years here, like I mentioned, the 7.43% increase in EAV for the 2018 year, it's kind of small, is the largest since 2007. Over the last, since 91, we've averaged about almost 5.8%. So we are above and beyond that. Largely due to new construction. We see a lot of residential construction occurring across the community. Some commercial construction up the road from here and across town. So it's good that EAV is diversifying too, and then adding some commercial EAV to our tax base as well. Excited to see that. So again, that when we add 2018 here, it will be larger. The tax levy calculation itself, these would be the actual numbers we would be levying for when this is presented again in December for the final. But like I said before in that school code, if that number is over 5% increase in comparing the orange on the far left to the blue on the right side, that's an 8.9% increase in EAV. Or I'm sorry, not in EAV, in the tax levy extension. That's the tax levy revenue we're going to be realizing with this levy. Although all the while keeping the tax rate level. So the actual 2017 rate landed at 4.565 for every $100 of EAV. And as we mentioned multiple times before, it's the 14th lowest now out of 15 school districts, K through 12 school districts in Champaign and Ford counties. It looks like we will be continuing that with, again, a level rate with 2017 for a 2018 rate of basically the same thing, 4.5658 as it's estimating here based on what we would be requesting from the county there. So again, that's an 8.9% increase in revenue, but keeping that tax rate level as we've kind of committed to our community to do. The rest of this packet is made up of the resolution itself to prove that we discussed and reviewed the estimated levy tonight to meet that school code requirement, as well as the certification of the resolution, both provided by our attorney, and then the notice, the truth in taxation notice itself is the last page of this packet in the full meeting packet. It runs through the same numbers that were on the calculation page in the required truth in taxation format. It will appear in the Mahomet Citizen December 7th, and there's even specific requirements on how that's supposed to look. It's supposed to take up, I think, a quarter of a page, bold outline, but again, it's the main result of this is a level tax rate from the previous year. So a lot of new construction we're seeing coming on the books, and that's the main reason we're seeing the increase in revenue.
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education adopt the estimated 2018 levy as presented. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Lance, is there a second?
Second.
Merle, thank you, Finance Committee. Questions or discussion?
I'd just like to point out that there was 15 to 20 years ago, a pretty concerted effort to try to, the map Mahomet area planning and so forth to help increase commercial. So we've doubled our commercial values in 10 years, well, in 20 years. Nearly doubled on farm values, which really wasn't a plan, but 2 2/3 more residential value in that time, so.
I don't see it slowing down.
Yeah, right, just, right.
I just think, I think it was the next page, showing, again, just keeping that tax, that tax rate level is, what, 91? Is that?
Relatively level since 1988.
88, actually.
That pictorial will be in December's packet, yes, we'll have that, show that.
All right, we'll see this again next month, but in the meantime, we've got a motion and a second on the estimated levy. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Hendricks, Park,
Yes?
Casson,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
Reaver,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes, and in just a minute, we'll go on recess to clear the room. If Riz, if you'd stick around for a minute, and Jeremy, if you'd stick around for a minute, we'll shoot a couple photos. We didn't break to do that earlier. But at this time, a closed session is necessary for number one, the discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under this act, or the purposes of approval by the body of the minutes, or summary and review of the minutes is mandated by section 2.06. Number two, the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee or employees of the public body, including hearing testimony on complaint lodged against the employee to determine its validity. And three, the placement of individual students in special education programs and other matters relating to individual students. Is there a motion to go into closed session for those reasons at this time?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Casson,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Reaver,
Yes.
Park, yes, Hendricks, McComb.
Yes, we'll recess for 5 or 10 minutes to clear the room. We will come back into open session briefly at the end of closed session. We do not anticipate any business to be conducted.